So now we need a reference field that references users from our staff content types. So let's add a reference field. I'm going to go to Structure, Content Types, Staff, and Manage Fields. And let's add a new field. The field is going to be a reference to an user. So we'll click User, and we'll call this User Account. Let's click Save and Continue. We'll leave these at the defaults. We only want one value. For the help text, I'm going to put in add a user account for staff listing to include a link to the user's personal contact form, to make it clear that we're only going to use references if we want that contact form link to display. For all the users that won't have a contact form, we'll leave the user account field empty. Okay, let's click Save Settings. And now let's fill out this reference field for Phil and Sandra. So let's go to Content, and for Phil, let's click Edit, and we'll scroll down to the bottom. And for the user account, we'll look for Phil's account. Here we go. We'll click Save and Keep Published. And let's do the same thing for Sandra. Scroll down to the bottom, search for her account, click it, and click Save and Keep Published. Okay, so now we have a connection point between staff content and the users associated with that staff content, but particularly only the users that we want a contact form to display for. Now we need to alter our view in order to pull that information in. So let's go to Structure, Views, and go to our team page. So remember how when we were looking at fields for users, we could click Add, and we could search for Contact, and we'd see a contact link here. Well, we don't yet, because what we're doing right now is seeing a view with just content, not users. But what we can do is add a relationship to connect this content with the user, and we do that in here in the Advanced tab under Relationships. Now, because we're going to start using some of the settings under Advanced, it makes sense to set this Advanced tab to show by default. It's hidden when you install Drupal to at least make views seem a little less complicated, but as soon as you begin using some of these options, it's a little bit more troublesome to click the Advanced dropdown every time you need to edit something there. We can set this to display as expanded by default by going to the Views settings. So I'm going to go back to Views, and I'm going to go to Settings at the very top tab, and we'll check this Always Show Advanced Display Settings and Save Configuration. And now let's go back to our view, search for team, and I'm going to click Edit, and now our advanced options are showing. So we need a relationship. Let's click Add, and let's search for User. So we have some options here. We can pull in the user information from the content author, and this would have actually been one way to tie in a user account with the content. We could have set the author to each staff piece of content to the staff that it's referencing, and then pulled in the user account using this. For our needs, this wouldn't have worked very well because we want to pull in some users' information, but not every user. What we want is the user referenced from field user account. So let's check this and click Add and Configure Relationships. We can set to require this relationship, which means that any items that don't have a user set in the user reference field will be hidden. We want those to display though. It's just that we're going to display the ones that do have a user account a little bit differently with the contact link. Let's click Apply. And this won't change anything about our preview, but if we go to our fields and we click Add, and now we search for Contact, you'll see that Contact Link is an option. Let's click it and add it in. So up here at the top, we have a relationship. There's only one option here because we're only pulling information from one user entity. But if this view was a list of users referencing other users, then we'd have options here to pull from the original content or from the relationship. Since there's only one place this is pulling from, this is selected by default. We'll leave all of the settings at default and see what happens. Let's click Apply. Okay, if we scroll down, we don't actually see anything, which is a bit strange. If we remove this field and we add a different one from the user, let's add the user name right here, and we click Add and Configure Fields and we'll apply. If we scroll down, you can see that Sandra and Phil are showing up and none of the other ones are, which is what we intend on happening. So what's going on here? Well, we're running into an error, but the error is being hidden by the preview. So if we add the contact link back, and we save this, and then we take a look at this page, I'm just going to duplicate the tab and paste in the our team URL. You can see that we get this fatal error, call to a member function ID on a non-object. So what we're running into is a bug that will likely be fixed in later versions of Drupal 8. In fact, by the time you're viewing this, you might not run into this issue at all. But as a site builder, the chances of running into some of these issues are pretty high. And one of our roles as a site builder is to figure out how to get around these.